Okay, we are live. That's good. No. So closest down. Break line. Yeah.
Thank you. Good evening. We're going to call the meeting to order. Good evening. We're going to call the meeting to order. It is now 6:04. And just going to go around. Introduce ourselves.
Trustee Sarah Basinski. Paige Martin, the secretary.
Vice President Gary Voss. President Bridget Pryor. Trustee Robinson. If you have any public comments.
We do. We have one public comment. I will summarize it for you. It's posted in board docs. It's a resident named Katie McNamara, and she's expressing her concern about Sundays not having library services at the 3 branches that are offering Sunday services at this time. So basically, her concern is to the fact that Bath, Delaware, and Arborville West Hill would be closed in July and August under the current services plan. So that's something that I responded to say that we and the board are looking at that, thinking about what the options are.
Thank you. We'll go on to our summer reading program and centennial report.
Okay, this is a special presentation tonight, and we have with us Amy, excuse me, I got caught. Amy McLaughlin, our head of programs and partnerships, and Deanna DeCarlo, branch services, excuse me. Deanna's also person in charge of our centennial planning committee. Amy will be speaking to summer reading and co-present this evening. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
And try to speak directly into the mic if possible, because otherwise the viewers at home will not hear you.
Perfect. Thank you. How is this? All right.
Great.
Thanks so much. All right. Good evening, everybody. It is so good to see you all. Zoom quit unexpectedly. Is that okay? Okay. I got a pop-up. Pardon me, those viewing at home. we got a pop-up that Zoom has quit unexpectedly.
It's still continued, so. Now did it. Bob, you can still see us?
We can.
Try this again. Thanks, everybody. So thanks so much for giving me and Amy an opportunity to share some highlights from APL's centennial year. We are so happy to be able to celebrate this milestone with both APL staff and our community here in Albany. We started planning way back in 2022 with a big push in January and February 2023 to get ready to celebrate on our actual native, Phil Pescuzzo, the same person who originally developed our beloved Bleecker owl a decade ago. We knew we wanted a special logo with a nod to our current APL and Albany Reads logo, but with some centennial style. This is what he created up on the screen. We loved it so much we used it all year for all of our centennial marketing, including special centennial library cards and all of our summer reading prizes. From January to March, we also began planning our two biggest celebrations, APL Day in May and our big summer reading kickoff in June. We secured additional staffing for those special events. We worked with our friends and foundation to provide funding for some special programs. And we invited partners like the South End's Children's Cafe and the Raddick Center to table. And we reached out to local vendors like Michaela's Amazing Lemonade and DJ John Brown to help us celebrate. We launched the Centennial logo at our annual Staff Development Day. We gave all staff a t-shirt with the logo, and we encouraged staff to wear their shirt to work all year. And it's been really fun seeing everybody in their shirts all year. Here is a, yeah, Amy is modeling today. Here's a picture on the screen of the whole team at Staff Development Day. We sure do know how to fill a room, and all those smiling faces. We're really excited to learn about the Centennial. That was taken just after we had the Centennial presentation. Also at Staff Development Day, we dedicated 1 hour to a special team trivia challenge. And believe me when I tell you, it was on. It got very competitive, and even us seasoned veterans had a hard time with most questions. It's not easy to cover a 100-year organizational history in 1 hour. So we thought it would be fun to give you all a taste of that trivia challenge. So we wanted to ask you, how many APL locations existed in 1923? You can think about that and hold that thought, because we will give you the answer at the end of the presentation. So how many APL locations were there in 1923? We figured out that our 100-year anniversary was coming up. Our head of communications and creative services had the great idea to see if the mayor would henceforth consider May 21 APL Day in the city of Albany. And to our delight, Mayor Sheehan agreed. And we built our celebration around that declaration. We chose the Howe branch as the location because it is the oldest functioning library in the city. And we thought it would be fun to shut down the street and hire a DJ. And it was fun. We also hired or partnered with local vendors to provide lemonade, cookies, and snacks. We also launched our Centennial Library card on May 21, as well as our Centennial Challenge. Our best pal Bleecker made appearances, and our second best pal Gruff provided story time in the Howe Garden. We opened the branch for special hours so that all attendees could tour the inside, and we also had a 3-panel photo display of APL history in the foyer. These are two staff photos from May 21. On the left is the current staff at Howe, who were so thrilled that we chose their branch for our celebration. And on the right are almost all the staff who worked that day. It took a lot of teamwork, and everyone really rallied to provide a great day for all. Our Centennial Challenge took a nod from the Upper Hudson Library System expedition, and it created opportunities for folks to visit the branches, attend programs, use the APL Wi-Fi in the park, download library apps, and much more. Once someone got to 10 points for 10 activities, folks earned a stunning canvas tote with a Centennial logo, and we had a large piece puzzle with the logo as a prize for our youngest participants. By the time the challenge ended in October, we had given out almost 800 challenge sheets, and 204 individuals earned their tote bag, and 48 individuals earned their puzzles. If you're wondering how many Centennial Library cards we have issued since through October, we've got you covered. I reached out to the Upper Hudson Library System, and they tell me that as of last month, we issued 1,211 adult and regular youth cards this year, and these cards would have had that special logo. We also allowed patrons to keep their barcode if they wish to. We have some Libby app power users out there, as well as some nerds like me and Amy who have had their number memorized for decades. We issued 125 cards to individuals who wanted to keep their barcode number, and we ran that procedure out of our Pine Hills branch. And I sincerely thank the staff for all their hard work duplicating barcodes this year. I'm going to hand the mic off to Amy to tell you all about our centennial programming, beginning with our summer celebration in June.
So our Centennial Summer Celebration kicked off our Summer Reading Challenge for 2023, was held at the Delaware branch. It was a callback to old school APL large summer celebrations that we used to do pre-pandemic. We had over 400 people attend, including many Upper Hudson expeditioners that day. And we hired local and women and minority-owned businesses for many of the services provided that day. And it was a big kickoff for summer reading, as I said, so. The Summer Reading Challenge. So Andrea had asked us to take a look and compare 2019 with 2023, just to show where we were and where we are. The numbers mostly reflect that we are seeing a 50% decrease in visitors. So you can see that similarly showing in our summer reading participants. We did collect data slightly different, so it's not an exact comparison, but the big takeaways are we saw a big increase in adults this summer. We think that we can contribute that to the Upper Hudson expedition combined with the Centennial Challenge, because summer reading was running as part of the Centennial Challenge, and adults really seem to resonate with that. And some of the differences, in 2019, we devoted a lot of staff resources. We were working with Albany Promise to do a study of summer reading in previous years. So we were using some of the takeaways and applying those in 2019, where we found that intense staff contact with people in the buildings, trying to get people signed up and participating throughout the summer. We were able to go to a lot more outreach than we were able to this year. We had summer temp help in 2019 that we didn't have in 2023. So we're really showing where staff made a difference in driving in registrations and participations. We're going to take that going into 2024 for planning. And we once again partnered with the Red Bookshelf and 15 Love, trying to combine as many summer reading literacy-based programming across the city in one, which is the offering out of Albany Public Library, Albany Reads. Just one other thing, 2019, we used an online product called Read Squared that was free service through Upper Hudson. We were all paper, all analog this particular year in 2023. Story walks in 2023, we had 3 installations. They did not all go in at the same time like we were hoping, due to weather and some just issues getting things into the ground, literally. But we were able to get placed in Buckingham Lake first. Then we were at Lincoln Park, where we had some posts in the ground and some of the story walk, which, is anyone unfamiliar with story walk? I can back up. We take a picture book, we literally cut it up, protect it, and post it on temporary stakes. You can see Al right there. I think that was at Hoffman one year, putting a post in the ground. So we had the 3 installations, Buckingham, Lincoln. We put some posts in the ground, some were attached to the fence with zip ties. And that one was the most long-lived this year. And Washington Park went up very late due to some weather issues. We had a lot of issues with the ground, but we did partner with DGS and Albany Parks and Recreation Department, as well as the Lincoln Park Alliance, the Washington Park Conservancy, and the Buckingham Lake Conservancy. All the books featured diverse characters. And to complement the story walks, we did some story time series in the parks. Washington Park was held 10:30 a.m. on Tuesdays for 6 weeks. Twice we had to move inside due to the weather. As you remember, there were a lot of smoke issues this year, and the youngest were more vulnerable to that. So we were very careful with that. And Lincoln Park, we did an evening story time where we partnered with Lincoln Alliance and the Red Bookshelf, and we did a 6 p.m. story time at that park. Additional Centennial programming. We tried to have programs for all ages, which included the Centennial Foods for Tweens and Teens at North Albany. We partnered with Radix for that. We kind of featured some of the foods that came out in 1923 along with heirloom apples. We were trying to kind of find a balance. And we had the Centennial Storytime at the Stephen and Harriet Myers residence for the early literacy age and families. We had a long-running series with Ruth Pelham this summer, who was celebrating 45 years with the Music Mobile. And we brought back garage bands at Delaware. That's another callback featured program we used to host here. We did it at Delaware in the back. Bach had a Centennial movie series for adults that's still going on through December, as far as I'm aware. And we had our 100 Years of Activism program kickoff at the Howe branch that had been delayed to November, but we just had it last week, and it was about voting rights in Albany. So we're hoping to do a couple more of those. And then there were several Friends and Foundations of APL events. And just note that FFAPL funded most of the Centennial programming that we offered, not necessarily all of it, but quite a bit of those. Looking ahead, I mean, we've been looking back at the last 100 years, so we're looking at what we're looking forward to, and that's an increase in regular, sustained, consistent outreach across the communities, because we know that's how we build trust. We want to dedicate staff to programming and outreach efforts to meet the community where they are. We're striving for equitable levels of programming for all ages across the system, specifically to enhance and refine services for older adults and other underserved populations. And we want to challenge ourselves to meet or exceed 2019 summer reading program participation. And we're going to continue to address accessibility issues, language barriers, and the digital divide. We want to sustain what is working and build trust and partnerships. We want to get community feedback on what we're doing well and what we could be doing better, and how we can meet needs differently across the city of Albany.
Okay. Does anybody want to take a guess how many Albany Public Library locations existed in 1923? One or two? Yeah, you're onto something there. Anybody else want to take a guess? You are correct about that. That was Pine Hills. Anybody else want to guess before I tell you the answer? All right, there were actually 5. Harmonious Bleecker Hall, Bridget, you were right about that. The Prime Library, which was on Pearl Street. The Pine Hills branch, which was on Madison Avenue, as Sarah said. The Delaware branch on Delaware Avenue, and then the Howe Library, which was actually located at Bassett and Schuyler, I believe, at that time. So we actually had 5 100 years ago. Thank you, everybody. Does anybody have any questions for us? Yeah. We have 7 now. Yeah. Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Picture.
Received our annual review rate from data in August in the amount of $35,640, which was slightly more than raises given to employees covered under the CSE and contract of the office. At the end of the first quarter, only the IT and material services section of the budget were over 25% spent. And our overall Q1 expenses amounted to 2.4% of. And the fees and sales and interest income revenue lines are expected to surpass their budgets and will likely be increased during the budget modification process. That's it. If anybody has any questions on the past reports, that's questions.
Their report first. I make a motion, Lisa.
Financial report.
Second.
Here.
Like water. Since the road.
It came to my attention that the Zoom audience can't hear. So if we can all just speak a little bit more loudly into the mics, that might help. Thanks. The consent agenda didn't pass.
Separate out the pieces so that the check register get. Can we find out?
I think that's possible. Maybe that's okay. Advice, but it has to be. It's me. Right.
So this is Trustee West. I have a question for clarity. So you're saying that it has to be 5. It's so in our bylaws, it doesn't state that the majority of that it's the majority of the quorum that's present.
Trustee West, this is a function of the public officers law. A public body always has to have a majority of the number of seats in order to conduct business. And I'm sorry, I didn't hear that happen for whatever reason. I'm hearing one word every 2 minutes or so.
So
But your
there's-
bylaws are consistent with that as well.
So there's 6 of us here. So you would need 5 of us to vote, and I thought 5 of us voted in favor.
Oh, 5 did.
5 voted.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
My mistake.
Yeah, for any item of business to be carried by the
it's a
board,
majority of the seats.
yes.
It's the passes.
No, I'm just saying, so for example, you need 5 right, but quorum that's present, let's say you have them 5. Present, yeah.
It's the majority of seats.
My apologies.
But it passed.
It did.
I think we need to put in clarification that.
Can I
If
help
we-
in some way?
Yes, if it was only 5, to say we only had 5 at the moment, and 4 people, voted for it and 1 opposed, it wouldn't pass as far as the majority.
Correct. Every action of the board must be approved by at least 5 trustee votes in the affirmative, regardless of how many people are present.
Yeah. Trustee reporting out, any upcoming events.
I attended an event last week. I attended yeah, voting rights are hard to come by in each of the loose event about how it's right on the tail of the election. I think heard a lot of good information. It was a engaging presenter. We all walked away with a pocket copy of the Constitution, and so it was a good environment, a lot of communication back and
This is Trustee West. I'm upcoming event and it's talk about. I was there because I'm there. It is going to be at the Pine Hills branch. Band, What's Left on the Shelf. Executive Director Clay will be on the panel. And it is Thursday. Things they're asking everyone to do is to bring a band book, donate to the Red Bookshelf, but it's about understanding consequences of banned books and the impact and society. So that sounds like a very interesting panel. There is associate law professors on the panel. There is superintendent of Manatee City School District, former superintendent, former interim superintendent, former deputy commissioner, State Farm Vegetation, Dr. Kimberly Wilkins, Dr. Kimberly Wilkins, Kimberly Wilkins, and then one of the professors at you all. So it promises to be a very good panel. Thursday, this Thursday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Pine Hills.
I was very honored to be invited, so looking forward to it.
So many people come out for support of the Friends Foundation and also the APL. But it was very nice and had a good time. All was had by good times had by all at the new cafe nights and club. But and so it was very nice. Also, I'm looking forward to the hip hop women December the 7th or so. So for that and all the other events on the website. It happened.
At the point now, yeah, I love the space.
Yeah.
I also attended the Centennial Friends and Foundation. Similar response and comments. And I will just to not sound too sycophantic. President Pryor did a lovely speech, and it was really charming, and we got to hear about her as a child and the inappropriate book section, and it was a memorable, good speech, and thank you for that.
I certainly do my best here. I think if you want me to, do you want me to read her minutes? Sure. So it looks like under committee reports, the Finance Committee, the Upper Hudson Library System ended August in decent shape. July and August treasurer reports and purchase journals were approved unanimously. 2022 financial review was scheduled for the October Upper Hudson Library System meeting. We don't have notes from the October meeting. I'm not sure if Trustee Way was able to attend the October meeting. This under Service Committee, they recommended all construction aid applications be funded equally with a 5.5% reduction from total eligibility, and that was unanimously approved. We of course have a project within that mix, so that's good news for us too. Expedition performance, the total number of participants, pretty stunning number, 40,099 participants across the district, the system. 918 visited every location within Upper Hudson. Under old business, looks like security cameras at Upper Hudson are fully functioning now. They're going to receive a 44.5% reimbursement for that work through next year's construction aid. And then current tenant Asian Arts is interested in expanding into the vacant tenant space and is in conversation with the Upper Hudson real estate broker. So I respectfully submit those on behalf of Trustee Way.
Thank you.
So we've met twice now. We met October 18th and November 1st. During the October meeting, we reviewed various legal procedures to select a candidate to present to the board. And during the November 1st meeting, we followed up on those procedures, met with a potential candidate, and established a schedule for upcoming meetings
I'll talk more about the procedures that we followed in the candidate later, just to keep us moving and on schedule. But I do want to mention that there are going to be 3 vacancies on the ballot this upcoming year. And nominating committee is looking to work hard to identify recruitment strategies that will support the plan of increasing diversity, equity, and inclusion for the candidates running. And for our established schedule, we will be meeting at 6 p.m. the first Monday of every month, except for New Year's Day. And our next meeting is scheduled for December 4th, and all at 6 p.m. And that is not to say that there will not be additional meetings if we need them, but we felt with balancing everyone's schedule, it was best to get things on the book moving forward as soon as possible.
Upcoming, oh, sorry. Thank you, that was a great report. I just want to ask, if you update your minutes. So in the October minutes, it says your next meeting is November 1st, 2020.
We did meet on November 1st.
2020.
Oh, no, we did not. No, okay, thank you.
But that was a very good report, and do value what the committee is taking into consideration the candidates that committee meetings.
Yes, there's 2 meetings one meeting of the Audit and Finance Committee that's scheduled for November 27th at Arbor Hill West Hill.
I guess I'll just mention again, December 4th is the next nomination committee. Put it in the right section.
The executive committee is meeting with everyone's schedule. Have a few dates out there, so once we confirm those dates, hopefully it will be it won't be before it will be after the holiday, but before our December the 14th or 12th meeting, hopefully. Thank you. Executive Director report.
All right, I'm gonna jump into the November report. Obviously, there are 2 months worth of ED reports in this meeting because we did not have a meeting, or excuse me, the board did not have a meeting in October. So I'll give you the October highlights. It was a really exciting month of programming. We were also readying ourselves for the new service hours and service model. So spent a lot of time going to neighborhood association meetings, working with the schools to get the message out, publicizing our hours through the e-newsletter, physical signage in all the branches, good old-fashioned word of mouth. I'm happy to say, I mean, just sort of preliminarily, we had really fantastic program attendance on Saturday, especially here at Washington Avenue. We had over 60 kids and parents and caregivers come out for the science program in the afternoon. And we also had 20 attendees at the story time in the morning. So that's a good harbinger of program numbers to come on Saturdays, and happy to report that. Our branch managers also received supervisor training in October, and they're going to continue to receive training on other aspects of their work, including budget management, outreach best practices, and other tools they need to know to be full supervisors of the branches. We have a new section of the director's report I want to draw your attention to. It's underneath my outreach activities, which are the date-by-date events that I've participated in and so forth. And under the Friends of Foundation news and under the statistics, there's featured upcoming programs. And that's where you'll see some of the programs that are, well, there's one mistake here, excuse me. The 50 Years of Women in Hip Hop has been rescheduled to December 7th, but this is how we would like to help the board see some of the programs that we're really excited about that are coming up. And hopefully that'll help draw some additional attention to what we're doing too. Rebecca Lubin also started as our head of community engagement on October 1st. And so there's a new section of the ED report that pertains to community engagement specifically and her activities within her one-person department as it is right now. So as you can see, she's been busy. She attended the UAlbany Community Service Fair, on the 3rd of October. Spoke with students who are interested in becoming digital navigators here and computer aides starting in January. She also presented October's health literacy webinar hosted by the State Department and a Building Effective Community University Partnerships panel at UAlbany on the 17th. And in my view, one of the more notable events that she attended was the RVAN Rensselaer, I always pronounce that wrong, Rensselaer Volunteer Administrators Network. They met at Russell Sage College, and that is a group of Capital Region volunteer coordinators from all over the spectrum of government agencies, nonprofits, education, and it was all about what it takes to run a successful volunteer program, which is, of course, one of our goals in connection with both our community engagement, our DEIA, and our workforce strategic plan goals. It really touches on a lot of them. So I'm really excited about the work she's doing. She's really embraced the department's priorities and has started building on them. So you can look out for more from community engagement in the months to come. Partnership projects, we had a lot of partnership projects going on in October. So partnering with the League of Women Voters up front and the New York Civil Liberties Union for the Banned Books Read Out event, which we hold annually. It's always a cool event that happens during Banned Books Week. And I'm not going to enumerate all of the other partner program events, but it was definitely a busy month for community partnerships. And of course, the long list of exciting branch activities and programs that happen in each of our locations. I do want to note some thanks to Christina Stenson-Carey, who was our branch manager at Bach branch for over 5 years and has moved on to the New York State Department of Parks, Rec, and Historic Preservation. We wish her well, thank her for her service to APL. And let's see, a lot more to enjoy here, but I'm going to skip ahead. We did have a number of positions we were able to fill in October, and we're looking good on the human resources generalist position also. So those applications just closed, and we're about to review resumes and go through the hire that position soon. And my thanks to Melanie for keeping all of our posts, our internal posts, external posts, onboarding, everything straight in this interim time before we have an HR generalist 3. She's doing a really great job. The finance audit is almost totally complete. You're going to hear from our auditors next month in December. And our LED capital project is almost complete. And I don't know if you noticed the lights in this room, but they are brighter as a result of that project. And they're brighter across the whole system, with the exception of North Albany, which is run by the schools in terms of facilities. And so the schools have jurisdiction over what kinds of lights go in those fixtures. And that about wraps it up. A lot of good media engagement in October as well, both about our hours, about which branches are likely to be haunted. That actually turned into a Times Union article. So it started as like an Instagram series, and then the Times Union took note and they were inspired to write a little piece in time for Halloween about our branches being haunted, which is kind of fun. So anyway, that's the October report, and happy to entertain any questions or anything else
I just have a quick question, the lights, how long will it be until the library starts seeing the financial savings from the transfer?
Well, I mean, we should see something
Will it be,
this month. I mean,
that's what I'm wondering.
yeah, we'll see what happens.
Our next financial reports will have hopefully good news from them.
Yeah, November will be the first almost full month of LEDs across the system. So we'll be looking closely at the electricity use in the system and hoping for a downward trend there.
Thank you. Can you just speak about say the incidents and loss of library credit? So that I'm sure had four or September had four.
Yes, so yeah, let me turn to that. Okay, so the September loss of library privileges, one was for an individual who created a disturbance. Do you want me to go through them one by one, or just because I'll have to review each loss of library privileges letter, which is fine. It's just they're all going to fall into the category of, generally speaking, verbal harassment of staff. So in this particular case, it was engaging in loud, aggressive, threatening conduct, using profane language, and the person was found sleeping in the elevator and was also under the influence of drugs and alcohol.
Yeah, just unusual. What was the like you said, it's a pattern, experiencing the same.
It varies a little in terms of like the reasons why someone is asked to not come back for 3 months, 6 months, a year. In another instance, the person was smoking in the library and asked to stop smoking. They threatened physical harm. So that kind of physical threat would be an instant loss of library privileges, because obviously we want to keep staff safe, and physical threats are not to be taken lightly. Yeah, the police are usually called in cases where physical violence is threatened, or someone is just escalating to the point where staff are worried about their physical safety. So staff know to call. The report times vary, and sometimes the person leaves by the time we tell them that the police has been called, and sometimes that's enough. And then the police arrive and explain what happened. But yeah, a lot of these incidents do involve alcohol, drugs, being resistant generally to complying with a staff instruction. And it's not just one instance, it's usually multiple instances that we take into consideration that result in this, because loss of library privileges is the most serious thing we can do in the way of repression for an infraction of the behavior policy. So it's never something we take lightly, and it's always it's because of an established pattern or because of an incident that was bad enough that it had to be instant, action. Thank you. So we're still seeing a bit of a decrease in our media circulation, but book circulation across all of our branches continues to increase, with some branches at or above pre-pandemic circulation. Interestingly, I just did an interview with the Times Union this morning about print circulation versus digital circulation and how these trends are changing. And it's a good conversation, and that article, I think, is coming out around the holidays. So I can also say that circulation transactions are up across all branches, which is good news. It's we're not as Amy stated during the presentation, we're just not where we were pre-pandemic in terms of attendance. And so that obviously impacts our circulation as well. That said, we're seeing an upward trend of program attendance. So across the system, we're seeing that when we offer programs, people show up in the same sort of pre-pandemic numbers, and that's part of what informed our decision to introduce additional programming at times when people can attend. We saw the highest room use of the last 3 years over at APL in October as well, which is good news. That's of course study rooms and meeting rooms that are reserved by them. I like to chalk that up to maybe our new reservation system. Maybe it's easier to use and people are reserving them more. I don't know.
We, I guess, beginning, but I actually brought my kid European to use one of the study rooms. We were having we need to focus on doing things, and it was a really nice experience. Staff at the library was really nice. The only complaint I have is a similar one I would have to see here because it was a little cold. But it was a good experience.
Good, glad to hear it. Yeah, so the central library budget is an annual item. This central library services aid budget has already been recommended and is in front of you as a result of a vote of the Central Library Committee of Upper Hudson. So the change this year, last year there was $1,000 put towards a calendar system that was used by some of the smaller libraries during the pandemic, and last year it was funded because those smaller libraries were not necessarily done using it, but then it wasn't getting any use at all. So we decided to put that $1,000 toward overdrive content instead. So yeah, that's the only change, and the rest of these items are perennial central library items. So the recommended Central Library Services aid budget is $213,917. Yeah, it is what they're giving us. It ends up being kind of passed through. We do the purchasing of digital content for the entire library Upper Hudson library system. So it's this, these figures obviously offset our budget to a certain degree, but it's not money that goes toward, our advantaged items for Albany residents or anything like that. It's for the entire Upper Hudson community.
I move that we approve the 2024 Central Library budget as recommended by the Central Library Advisory Committee.
Trustee West, I second. All in favor?
Thank you very much. Share that good news with the executive director of the Upper Hudson Library System tomorrow morning, Tim Burke. I'll be happy to hear it.
Or schedule for 2024.
So the list of dates is attached in board docs, and thanks to Erica for putting them together. You can review that and take a moment to see that all those dates make sense. They're standard, but
Question. Four weeks. Motion to accept the. Second. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Trustees own agreement?
Okay, so this is the agreement, this is a renewal of the agreement that we have with BOCES for them to use space on the second floor of Washington Avenue to host high school equivalency training and classes. And we're happy to continue this relationship. It's been very positive, and for your support in renewing the agreement. There were no changes to the agreement.
The literacy agreement with BOCES. All in favor? Aye. Yeah. Quarterly strategic plan update.
All right, I would turn your attention to the strategic plan and implementation grid, the colorful document that's attached to board docs and separates out each of the 4 strategic plan goals. And I'll just go through and give you some highlights from each of the categories of goals, starting with community engagement. So, and just as a reminder, the stages are who the, well, it's not really a stage, but who the tactic is assigned to. And then we go into the planning stage, the implementation stage, and finally the measured outcome stage. So that's how we measure our success with the strategic plan tactics for this fiscal year. They do change slightly as we move through the year, depending on capacity and what we're able to move forward on more quickly than we thought. So I want to call attention to one tactic that kind of straddles a few different categories of goals, which is the community survey to gauge interest in current and future programming. And we're excited about this survey, which we're hoping to launch in the spring, because we really need to identify what the gaps are in terms of our programming and where, you know, the underserved audiences and the people who maybe are not using the library because either a lack of awareness or a lack of interest in the programming that we're offering now. We're designing several different strategies to get the survey out and to also study the community interests. And those efforts will include not only a sort of short and easy to fill out online survey, but also going to community groups and doing some outreach inspired visits with groups that are already meeting. One example that came to mind when we were talking about how we were going to share this survey was using the opportunity of like a RISE class coming to this location for library cards, and how we could talk to the RISE students about what they are looking for, what they would like to see in terms of programming at the library. The RISE is the Refugee and Immigrant Organization that's based here in Albany. So that's just one example, but we're looking to talk to audiences that are kind of built in, as well as do more outreach related to this survey. And we're really excited about it because it's going to drive a lot of and inform a lot of programming in the next fiscal year. We are almost done processing all the materials that we've ordered for the collections in languages other than English that are going into Arborville, West Hill, and Washington Avenue. So that's exciting progress on that goal. we're really looking to do more outreach to neighborhood associations and share new opportunities for partnership as a result of the enhanced capacity of our community engagement department, our programs and partnerships department, and figure out who we're missing in terms of inviting groups to come to the library to learn about our sources and otherwise partner. We have launched our new calendaring system, which is exciting. Just after developing and maintaining and evaluating strategic partnerships. Really looking forward to meeting with UAlbany later this month to talk about library cards for UAlbany students and how we can share access between UAlbany and APL. Under workforce, we are still working with civil service to look at job spec classifications, aligning them with the reality of our current library workforce. We're really happy that the committee, or the commission rather, approved the new engagement clerk description that had gone through the personnel committee earlier. And so that's now really in great shape, and it's going to attract hopefully better candidates with a better understanding of what the job entails. Under our DEIA goal, we have been working with community organizations to build that pipeline for job opportunities at APL. So we've worked with UAlbany so far, but our head of community engagement has identified several other groups to meet with and do outreach to in order to build our internship program, build our volunteer program, and get people educated on how to take the civil service test and break into jobs at APL. We are also continuing to plan an evergreen marketing piece, basic information about how to use the library. We're looking at plain language writing techniques across our public communications, and so our public information officer is promoting that training to her staff and is taking that training herself. Also engaged in, as Amy spoke to this during the presentation, but we're actively cultivating a roster of library program vendors and presenters that are reflective of the diversity in the community. And she's definitely making strides there. We recently connected with a group led by Vicky Forbes. It is a group, just going to pause here and find it because I'm excited about this partnership. We Are Revolutionary, which is a relatively new nonprofit in Albany that offers youth development programs. They have a legal education program called Legal Eagles, and he's been partnering with Alice Green's organization to offer legal ed programs in Albany schools. We're connecting Lukey with the Arborville West Hill branch manager, Nolan, and Nolan is going to be moving forward with some exciting programming with We Are Revolutionary. Otherwise, again, want to cite the survey. The survey touches on both the community engagement category and the DEIA category. And yeah, we're just in the planning stages of that. We hope to do some of the focus group outreach or group meeting outreach, and then in January and February, March more likely, and then do a bigger push for the online survey around budget season, because that's when I'll be going talking about the budget and talking to a lot of community groups and leaders, and will give me an opportunity to promote the survey at that time as well. So also a nice opportunity to remind our community that the library is listening, wants to know how we can improve programming for all ages. So finally, under sustainability, we have completed the LED lighting project, as I said, continuing to monitor our HVAC system and make that, well, tonight is not a good example in this room. We're not trying to freeze people out, I promise you. We are not that zealous about saving money on heating. It just happens to be that this room is a little on the cold side this evening. We're also still pursuing window tinting at Arbor Hill West Hill, and that the vendor that we had originally identified is not unfortunately able to do the project. So we're now looking at an alternative vendor. Johnson Controls is putting together a quote for us for that work. And so more to come on the window tinting, and that's gonna be an energy saver for us, hopefully. We are also under objective 3. Oh, I skipped objective 2 there, developing a long-term financial plan. What we're looking at in particular with that financial plan is how we can increase our collections budget. We're seeing that the demand for e-content is exceeding what we're able to spend. And so that's one of the things, in addition to the ongoing objective of adding staff where we can, and new positions where we can. We're looking at how we can increase the budget for collections. And finally, just continuing to train staff for full supervisory roles in the case of branch managers, and in-person training for all of our new hires so that they feel ready on day one and feeling prepared to start their career here at APL. So that concludes the quarterly report for the strategic plan, and I welcome your questions.
Trustee West? Thank you. Thank you for that detailed report. I have a couple of questions. So one is on workforce. You mentioned that you would be working with ULE. Have you given any thought to working with Brooklyn, the Voltech High School?
We can absolutely do that. It didn't come up, but can you share the name of that school again?
So it's part of city's district. It's the weekend, so it's a location, second portion.
Oh, okay.
It's not officially approved only.
Oh, okay.
The kids will take classes already in Miami and go over to Oregon and take some classes. Or vice versa.
Right. Thank you. We have great partnerships at Albany High through the library there, so I think we can figure out a way to connect with them.
And then, so this question I wanted to teach on, but been able or given thought to working this specific grade that you've given us back to the evaluation. So that's what we have. Anything, specific, but all the detail that you put here, does it match with anything or any other recommendations of evaluation?
The focus on the DEIA elements of the strategic plan tactics, I tried to spend a little more time on that in this evening's quarterly report, and I'm happy to expand on any of those. Absolutely.
Everything that helps. My dad was always like, thanks, sin. So, but this is more of a, I guess, logistical sort of question. When you're talking about the SUNY Albany partnership and things coming, like between the two systems, as we are part of Upper Hudson, I don't know, maybe SUNY already is part of Upper Hudson, but like, does that connection need to be made for materials to go between us and that sort of sharing?
That's exactly what we're working on. And SUNY is not part of the library system. They're not going to, and academic libraries separate. But what we're interested in is offering access to all the students to these collections, and having a mutually beneficial loan relationship. We're just in the early stages of exploring this, and there's a lot of different impact to study about it. I also have to meet with Hudson about whether or not this is like a plan that could work. So we're in the feasibility stage of it, but I'm happy to have a partner in the collection services folks at Albany, and an eagerness to explore this, because it could only mean more registered borrowers for APL and more use of our collections and, connecting young people with public library services during a time when perhaps they have little time to themselves for the kind of pleasure reading that we could, or, entertaining programs, et cetera, that we can offer. But I think, it's just a missed opportunity if we're not connecting that huge student body with what we offer here at APL.
This is totally left field, but so the collection that goes into the digital library. Wait, or over. So the collection that goes into there. So when you trying to answer the right, so you have author West, right? So West is an author, but only like one of their books. How do you determine how many books in the collection? So not how many books, not how many books of that specific title, but how many books within the collection is purchased and made available digitally.
Our digital purchasing is largely based on demand. And so if there are like 10 people waiting for a specific title, we'll buy another copy of that title. And it's a holds ratio that we're looking at all the time. And we also have to factor in the price of the ebook, and prices of ebooks are shockingly high. I mean, a physical book, you can buy that for like $25-30, and an ebook, we're spending like $50-60 on a single metered access, which is slightly obscene. And I have a lot to say about the publishing industry and the chokehold that they have on libraries about these lending models, but that's a longer conversation.
Yeah, I only ask because I'm very so there was a series of books, and then other books pop up.
So there is a way to, you can't, Libby used to recommend a title function, and for some reason they did away with that, and we have no control over that, but we do have control. We can offer control through our recommended title form on our website. So you can always recommend a title that way, and we invite recommendations from anyone, anytime, because we're always looking to build a collection that's going to satisfy our users as much as possible. But we can't, when a certain bestseller comes out, like, let's name James Patterson, I guess. He certainly gets enough advertisement. But if the latest James Patterson hits and the new ebook costs $60, we're not going to be able to buy enough copies to like bring the hold time down to like a week or a month. It's still going to be months before you get that new James Patterson, unless you happen to be first in line.
So this is just and I apologize for taking us down the rabbit hole further. But when we had the lady from collections, and I can't remember her name,
Stephanie Anderson.
Yeah, when she came and spoke with us about collections in the process, I thought I remembered that with like the digital media, it wasn't necessarily that you bought it, it was more like you got a license. Is that, am I remembering correctly?
That's correct, yeah. Yeah, I'm not being super specific in my
Okay,
language this evening, but yeah, we buy a peer access license or a one copy, one user license. So these are just, they're licenses that expire, and they expire a lot sooner than a physical book expires. It is frustrating.
Thank you. Any other discussion on statistics of strategy and strategy update? Business. Trustee.
Right, so as promised, I said earlier that we would visit the different things that we did later, and it's later. So the nominating committee, as I mentioned, we met a couple of times. We discussed 3 different options to fill the vacancy left by Tom McCarthy, principal of Middle Lynch. So we're not talking about the rest of this term. We're talking specifically about the 5 or 6 months until the May election. And there are, of the options, we most quickly ruled out soliciting interest from the public and interviewing candidates. This process has been done a couple of times in the past. However, we felt that it's a short time. I don't like saying it's a short term because it's a short-term term. But because of the short time that we're looking to put someone in and the time it would take to solicit people to say, I want to serve for 6 months and then interview the whole population, the whole group, we felt it would take away from getting someone in and getting moving forward with preparing for the election. So for the nominating committee, that's why we ruled that one out. We also discussed the benefits of recruiting a private trustee. But we did decide to go down the road of the May 22 election results. By choosing the runner-up candidate, we felt that we were able to honor the election process and the will of the voters. Additionally, we felt that this was the least biased method of identifying a potential candidate, as we aren't selecting a candidate based on our own connections and experiences. Our biggest concern with this approach was ensuring that a new board member would be fully aware of the commitments and in being trained for the board. So to counter that, we felt it was important to establish onboarding support and to meet with the candidate. So during the 2022 elections, I received the shortest term as I got the 4th highest number of votes. The next highest vote getter was Carlos Velasquez with 750 votes. I spoke with him on October 23rd, and he indicated that he was not available to serve for the shortened term. Following Mr. Velasquez, the next highest vote getter was Kirsten Borsinski with 688 votes. She did indicate that she would be interested, and we invited her to speak with us on November 1st. Ms. Borsinski has a master's in public administration from George Washington University and has spent her career working in the nonprofit. She is currently the director of development for Make a Wish Northeastern New York, and has experience building both community and corporate partnerships, and is currently serving on the boards for the board for the Friends and Foundation. While meeting with the nominating committee, Ms. Borsinski indicated that she gave thought to the time commitment, is prepared to receive the core training from Upper Hudson, and is fully able to attend our board meetings and accept committee assignments. After discussing the training, commitment, and potential concerns, the nominating committee voted unanimously to recommend Ms. Borsinski to fill the term vacated by Thomas McCarthy and serve until the next trustee election in May of 2020.
Thank you. We have reported trustee Basinski.
You got it.
Here. Any questions to the nominating committee regarding the nomination or the recommendation?
I just want,
and discussion for how they came to that conclusion. What the process was. I think was it resulted to.
I don't have any questions. I just appreciate your diligent report, and I want to acknowledge that I agree with the logic behind recognizing that we had an election and that you contacted, you know, the next in line according to the will of the voters of Albany, and followed up that gentleman and just, you know, worked your way through the line, and I think, you know, had a good conversation with the potential appointee for trustee. So I just want to say that I respect your, you know, due diligence there and recognition of the value of the democratic process. So, thank you.
I believe there's a question, so like when we were in our meeting. Was about the two boards.
Perfect. Yeah, and I definitely don't have the bylaws memorized. But the discussion that we had, she did ask us if that was a conflict. And we said that we thought it was not, and that our lead trustee Way had mentioned that she felt that President Pryor was on the fence foundation, which maybe is not correct.
That is correct.
Yes, it's a voting member. But is she a voting member by virtue of her position on the board?
Yeah.
Yes. So that might be a little different, but yeah.
Just
voting
for
member.
that.
This board, she's a voting member based on virtue of being president of the trustee.
Okay.
Everybody that has to serve on the board. Okay, so then I bring back question. Pension. On this end. Yeah, I mean,
There is a question.
yeah, did you hear? I don't know if you heard that. Okay, the question is, we have a trustee, we have a candidate to replace trustee McCarthy. She also sits on the Family and Friends Foundation. Would she be able to also sit on, is that a conflict?
Brigitte, if you're asking me a question, I'm only hearing every third word, unfortunately.
Can you hear me?
Excuse me. Bob, can you hear me?
I can hear Andrea, yes.
Okay, well, the question is, there's a nominee for the trustee vacancy, and she sits on the Friends and Foundation board. Is there anything preventing her from being on the board of trustees?
There's no inherent conflict because I think we have interlock between the boards in the corporate documents anyway. I think there's a couple of trustees that sit on the APL board by virtue of their ex officio positions. Whether or not it would be a conflict in any particular vote, she would have to adhere to their conflict of interest policy and ours. I can't think of too many votes that come up before the Board of Trustees that would raise an issue, but it's possible that the funding decisions that the FFAPL makes could require her to recuse from time to time. But certainly that's not anything that couldn't be addressed through application of a conflict of interest policy.
Thank you.
I don't think there's an inherent incompatibility, in the offices.
Not a question, just a comment. I did watch view the meeting, for the nominating committee and, for, going down the path of the candidate that you guys, are putting for nomination. to me, the reasoning doesn't really make sense. Just for where the logic is being, I do think, especially listening to the meeting, that biases have superseded what would be best for the library. Or what could potentially, help the library. So I do think that that's very unfortunate. I do know that a previous, we've been here before, so we've been here, this is not new for, in reference to the process that is not, is not unfamiliar to us, what the trustee did resign for their term. I do know, listening to the meeting, Dr. Robinson was a trustee that was, previous trustee here was submitted for an option for you guys as well to consider. So just in speaking of the time that it would take as a deterrent to solicit another candidate and, go out, to do that, I think it really doesn't, selecting a candidate who, yes, is on the ballot, yes, we want to respect the democratic process, I mean, that's how we all got here. So I don't think anyone has a dislike for the democratic process, we're all here because of it. So I don't think us just following suit of what we have done is anything, would be anything other than something like abnormal. I don't think that would be abnormal. My point just for saying that, I just think it's just very sad. Like I said, I did listen to makes sense, whatever you guys put forward and so your nomination is your nomination, of course, and we'll advance the process. But I just think it's just really sad, the benefit of having the previous trustee, even as before when this situation came up, that can hit the ground running, especially when we're thinking about a time constraint, they're only here until May, have a previous trustee willing to come back and dedicated to the position as they were before. I just think it just disservice. I do feel that biases did get in the way of honestly what would be best for the library. As I stated, you guys' candidate who you are putting forward, of course, to be respected, voted on. I just think it's very sad. That's all. Just a comment. Yes, Trustee West.
So that the committee only puts forward one person is a nomination or will be given, and I'm asking, wondering, does the committee give us 2 or 3 choices and then put that week? It's not clear from the file. And then that person is either and it will move back to us.
I could be wrong, but in the times where a prior trustee or a member of the public was put on the board, appointed for the short term, that a candidate was put forward by the nominating committee.
And so this is just my HR. That's what I'm saying. Just I was thinking, I'm really putting forward one candidate, one candidate for a position instead of these 2 choices, and now there we kind of get to have a conversation with the candidate, but that's just my age. Curious. Thank you. Other committees work as well. That they put in the recommendation, several options. That's one, and then vote on that. If it's something that the board feels that we need to go back to the table, then we go back to committee.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, Trustee West, but from just listening to you, I interpreted as speaking about just the process of how it's gotten to that one candidate for nomination in reference to interviewing multiple candidates.
No, it was, again, thank you, trustee and all other committee members. I'm sorry, Peter Cole. Again, thank you for the due diligence in that. In trying to report a candidate and take your word. So we can make a decision next. Great report. Thank you.
It to be clear, would you like us to have a different alternative for next meeting or have this to vote on this candidate at the following meeting?
That's your recommendation.
Okay.
Quarterly evaluation, for the board of trustees, and 4.5. And so I'll be passing out, adjournment to close the house. And then it's about other public comments.
No other public.
Oh, that's. Extras. I think. So we're to executive session, having the public comment.
If you be. Statement, you have to stay quiet.
I'd like to make a motion to enter into executive session for the purpose of discussing. Regarding discussion of proposed pending or current litigation, elected negotiations pursuant to the Article 14 of the Civil Service Law, and the medical financial credit or employment history of a particular person or corporation. May I get a motion? Second. Thank you. Now, all in favor, 42, executive session? Aye.
Okay, for members of the public, we are going into executive session. We are ending our live stream at the moment. If the board makes any vote coming out of executive session, it will be noted in the minutes. Thank you. One